So welcome to the end of season review for 2037. This was the first season where we've actually made 2 videos for this season. So if you haven't already, please go back and check out the last episode in this playlist where we introduce the new signings and look ahead to this 2037 season. And hopefully you do like this style and hopefully it is here to stay. So going through this season, I have asked the board to expand our stadium. Now that was more the fact that in the league we're getting close to 10k average supporters per game, but in the Champions League, because you can only have people in seats, we're only getting 5k. What I really want to ask is, can you change the standing to seating? But we can't ask that, so the only thing I've been able to say is, can we expand it? To which they are planning. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but they are planning. So you joined us halfway through the league season. Won 12, drew 2 and lost 1. Losing to Vikingur Goethe, that was our first defeat in about 2.5 seasons. Disappointing, but almost expected. Teams are getting better, teams are looking stronger. So we are going to slip up every now and again now in the league. It's just great to see. It's great to see that teams within our league structure are looking better and better. So we did go through the signings before the season started. Really pleased to have brought everyone in. Tove Bjornhag is definitely going to be one of the key ones, I think. Going ahead in the future will become one of our best players if we can hold on to him. Obviously we are still at that league reputation wise where when these other clubs are coming in for my players, they are getting their heads turned. So hopefully we can hold on to him. Only 18 years old, 16 heading. He's 6'1", good natural fitness, decent everywhere else. I think he's a very solid player. Now in terms of players who have left us since the season started, only one player so far on loan is Joe Petter, Hustad Ødegaard, and he has gone on loan to FC Honka in Finland. Now we did win the Super Cup, a 2-0 victory over KI, goal scores from Sundström and Koki. Really pleased with that, nice to retain it as well after obviously losing it in 2035. So yeah, we are still looking fairly decent, fairly strong. Our football is starting to look a bit better, but we're still a little bit vulnerable in some games. And I think that could be down to how young our squad is. If we're not having a good day at the office, we just really do switch off. Now, somebody did ask me why we are not adding sell-on fees on the players. Now, this is one of the things about us having only one episode per season. A lot of them things do get missed. So I do normally add a 25 to 50% sell-on fee when I do sell players when it is possible. Sometimes when the players are demanding to leave, I want to get them out the club as quickly as possible. Sometimes we do miss that or just unable to put it in when we are trying to find a club who actually wants to buy him. But a 25% sell-on fee here has meant that we've received 475k as Carlson has moved on to Vitesse. Now we sold him in 2034 and yeah, selling him 2034 and we've just made $500,000 a few years later. Now the joys of living in a small apartment is when I've said I'm going to record a video and the wife decides to put the dishwasher on. So if you can hear her humming in the background, we can all blame her. Now another bit of money, and this is a big bit of money, we got a 30% of profit on the next sale when we sold Mboum, I think it was to Troyes, in France. Well, he's just gone to RB Leipzig, and we've just received 6.75 million following his 27.5 million sale. So it's another example. I do add these sell-on clauses in. Quite a lot of time I probably haven't mentioned them in previous episodes, previous seasons, but they are in there and we are starting to see the fruits of that now with over 7 million coming in just on these percentage of next sales. Now one thing I have noticed I did forget to make a save file on is the rankings, so we're just going to quickly look through best we can. So for this 37-38 season for the European rankings, we are in 24th place. We are chasing down the likes of Switzerland, Poland, Czech Republic and Serbia. I do feel all of them are within grasp of us this season, so we could potentially be going into the top 22 ranked within European ranking. Now we do always like to obviously keep an eye on the league as well, and we've moved up 6 places from 37th. We are now up to 31st in the rankings. We are 3-star. We are just behind Belarus. We're just behind Cyprus. And we are chasing down the likes of Israel. We are just behind the second tier in Norway as well. So we are slowly getting stronger, slowly getting better. And yeah, it's just step by step, isn't it? If we can keep moving 3-4 steps a season, we're going to be in that top 20 quite quickly. So in terms of our Champions League run, we have made it to the group phases, which it's a positive and a negative. I've seen people comment on the video saying maybe you'd be better off in the Europa League or better off in the Conference League. Completely agree. I think the Conference League is a competition we could probably look at winning. Should we purposely bow out of the Champions League to get into the Europa League, then bow out of that into the Champions League? I think I'd rather not. But at the same time, I completely get the thinking behind it. And part of me thinks, okay, let's do that. So, but then if we actually have a disastrous time in the Conference League, we're going to lose a lot of points and it could hamper us. It's such a tough call. It's such a tough call. But we knocked out PAOK 3-0 in the first leg before 2-0 victory in the second leg. We then played SJK of Finland after struggling against them last year or the year before. 2-0 victory away from home for 1-0 victory at home. And then we've just played Red Star Belgrade, beating them 1-0 at home before 2-2 draw away from home saw us go through into the group phase where we will be playing Djurgårdens, Porto, Inter, Newcastle, Legia Warsaw, Midtjylland. Then after Christmas we will be playing Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. Quite tough, shall we say? Quite tough. Now, going through this Champions League qualifying, I have been trying to rotate the team the best we can. After 19 games we are top, won 16, drew 2, lost 1. EB in second place, but they do have 2 games more played than us. Joint on points with 50 points. KI are 4 points behind us. So it's a very, very tight league at the minute, I would say. Now we have just played KI and I had to come back for this. It's only 1 game, I think it is, or 2 games after the last update. But you can see here, we were 2-0 down with half an hour to play and managed to come back and win the game 3-2. Now that victory has put us 3 points clear with the game in hand over AB, but 7 points clear of KI, which puts us in such a strong position. Now, one transfer to mention that I have fixed is coming from Tromsø. Levang we have picked up, who is a halfback, can play defensive midfield, can play centre-back and centre-mid. But having a halfback is definitely useful because at the end of the season part, we will look at the tactic I've been using. And a halfback has become quite crucial in our setup. Now the issue is we spent £2.5 million signing a player. We've now made £18 million worth of sales because we've lost a few people. First off, Jonas Aga has gone to Viking Goethe on a free. He had agreed to join them at the end of the season. He's a good player, but he just was never going to be a first choice player for us. They agreed to sign him at the end of the season, so I just said you could have him. I said buy him now for nothing. And they've agreed on that. I think it's good to get him out to that club. Hopefully he can develop well there and help them develop into a better team. Jordi Gutierrez said he was leaving us as well and again agreed a pre-contract, so we ended up just saying they could have him. 23k there and then. He has left and gone back to South America. Couple of players gone out on loan. Joachim Edin has gone to Braga in Sweden. And our young Polish wingers gone to Vesta in our country. Really nice to keep him in Faroe Islands and get him some first team football. So really pleased to see him go out. Unfortunately, Little Skara has left us. Now if we go on his history, he was an absolute goal machine for us. Since coming in, 6 goals in 7 in the first season, 38 in 22, 19 in 12, 26 in 16. Before we've ended up selling him for 10 million, it's going to work out to Genoa. 9 million up front, 1.5 million after 5 league games. So thank you very much for that. Barrera's gone on loan to Northland. Agreed that they would give him football as well. came in this season. I do think he could develop into a really good player. So absolutely delighted a club like Northland actually wanted him on loan. As my dishwasher starts beeping. Diusse, we've sold to Copenhagen. Now he came in and cost us 25k. And he never become a first team player. He just never impressed me, to be honest with you. So selling him for 2.2 million to Copenhagen was a deal I just took. He was second, maybe even third choice right back. He was about fifth choice centre back. So really happy just to cash in on him, 2.2 million. And unfortunately, leaving us again is our main left back, Henry Hansen. He had a 3.6 million release fee to foreign clubs. Nothing I could do about it. It was the only way he would sign a new deal was to put that in. So we've ended up selling him for 3.6k. He cost us 110k. He's been with us for a few years. So I mean, technically it's good money, but just really sad to see him go. So we've made 18.25 million this year. It was a record. We spent 10.25. It's frustrating to have lost a couple of our best players, Little Scara, our main striker, absolute goal machine, and Henry Hansen, our left back, have both left the club now. And I am really disappointed for that, but sometimes players move on and we've just got to find a way to get around it. One thing I do want to mention is, how do you say this? Should Arson has come in to play as one of our left backs for the remaining part of the season. Came through the academy a couple of years ago. Will he be good enough to be first choice? No. Will he be good enough to be maybe an option to play in league games when we have a continental game coming up? 100%. So, and the fact he's homegrown definitely ticks the box. So he has come up from our B team and hopefully he settles in well. So we have had an intake. Unfortunately, this player is half Faroese, half Danish. And he's refusing to be called up to the national team at the minute. When I ask him, he says he wants to commit to Denmark. It does say he's undecided of where he's going to play for the national team. I do hope he chooses us because the fact we've managed to get ourselves through a goalkeeper who could potentially be a first choice goalkeeper for our club means he is going to be way too good for the national team. Really, really impressed by this guy. Look at his attributes to be only 16. I've got to say, like, we haven't had anybody special for a couple of years through the intake. This guy is special, and we've already secured him on a long-term contract. I just begged that we weren't going to lose him. Unfortunately, I do think he will end up being a Danish international, which means we won't get to cap him for the Faroe Islands national team. But we can dream that it's potentially going to happen. I won't show anyone else on the intake because honestly, it was quite poor. But that is it for the season. The season has ended. We're on the 8th of December now. Forsland is the only other player to come in who I agreed to sign as one of our backup fullbacks. He can play left and right back, so I thought it was quite a good little signing. Picked him on a free transfer. And he has a decent value, so I don't think this is a bad signing, to be honest. Andy's coming on an emergency backup contract, which means it's a win-win. Covers both full-back positions and has an emergency backup contract, means he's never going to cry or complain. I think it's a good signing from Malmö in Sweden. So the season has ended. We have ended the season as league champions. We did suffer another defeat at home to EB 2-0, who have beaten KI. So EB finished in second place this year, which is insane. Qualifying directly for the Europa League with 62 points. So we finished with 122, drew 3, lost 2. If we're going to the stages side of things, I just want to show you, we were really solid defensively, only conceded 9 goals this season, scoring 89. We made a few changes tactically, and I'm really, really pleased with how they worked. So the fact we've ended up winning the league, 69 points, not our highest scoring in terms of points, but only conceding 9 goals, really, really pleased, especially when you look 3 goals against KI, 2 against EB, 2 against Vikingur Goethe. So there's 7 goals in 3 games. So apart from that, 2 of the games we conceded, 22 clean sheets this season. Now, somebody did ask about the average attendance and stuff this season, so I'm going to show you here. So you can see we have an average attendance of 8,500, KI with over 2,000, Viking Goethe 1,300, B36 at 1,000, NSI 875, etc. So we ourselves are getting a very high average attendance, to be honest. Really pleased with that. So in terms of the Champions League, it probably hasn't gone how I would have hoped. Joe Gordon's beat us 3-1. We just looked really poor. I actually earmarked that as maybe a point away from home. We did lose 5-0 away against Porto. I actually rested a few people because we had an important league game coming up and we had just lost to EB. I really wanted to secure that. We then lost 2-1 at home to Inter. Disappointing because we got back in and we actually looked quite strong. So I was fairly pleased with that. A 4-0 defeat away in England against Newcastle before we beat Legia Warsaw 2-0 at home. And then we've just drew 2-2 with Michelin. We were 2-0 down in the 89th minute and our kids showed fight. Coming from 2-0 to end the game 2-2. I'm so pleased at the fact that we managed to do that. This bloody chair squeaking. It's doing my head in. So our season ended with our top goal scorer because obviously Little Scara left us. Bjorn Haag finished our top goal scorer with 23 goals, 18 starts, 4 sub appearances. Only 19 years old still, attributes on the rise. He has 10 league appearances, 19 goals for us in his career so far. Got to be pleased with that. Kilberg finished second top goal scorer with 16 goals, Midskogen with 15, Cookie with 9 and Mishan with 7. In terms of assists, you will see that our top assist was Cookie with 17, then you have Egelin, our other winger, with 14, Mishan with 11, and then you have Midskogen and Kilberg both with 10. Now in terms of our tactic this season and the change I made, dropping one of our central defenders to cover and then playing a halfback, so we end up forming a triangle between Meng, Mosek and Washington, our defensive mid who plays as the halfback. It ended up forming a really solid setup because our central defender on cover, just dropping back, stopped all them balls over the top. We were never getting beaten with balls over the top anymore. Having Lingerud as a wing back on support, it just suited him better. He's not a bombing forward wing back. He is good, but he doesn't like getting forward too much. Having him on support suited him a little bit better. Hansen was on attack, but obviously Manbunda has slotted in for now as our main choice left back. I do think going into next season we need a new first choice left back. I mean, Manbunda isn't the worst. He's 21 now. He's been with us for a couple of years. But is he good enough to be our first choice left back? I strongly doubt that. So I do think we need a new one. Neves, who we signed this season, has settled in fantastically. Really solid. Started 8 league games for us, but played in pretty much every single Champions League game. Really pleased with how he's looked. He's still only 18, 5 caps for Angola. As a central midfielder at 18 years old, he has dominated that central midfield. Mishan is a very strange one. 9 goals in 29 appearances. Definitely talented, definitely good enough to be in our first team. But he's not doing it as Kilberg would. Kilberg, with his 109 goals in 187 games, is a better than a 1 in 2. Mishan is a 1 in 3. So goals-wise, well off. Assists-wise as well, I would say Kilberg has a better record assists. Mishan, 35 games. Kilberg, 22 starts. 31 games in total. And only 1 assist less. It's very tough to decide the best option here because Kilberg has been with us for a few years. He's obviously one of our legends of the save at 26 years old now, but he's not as good as Mishan. But performance-wise, he does the job. Now, winger-wise, I think I'm really happy with what we've came up with. Egerlin has moved from the left over onto the right and plays an inverted winger. And then Midtskogen on the left as an inverted winger coming inside. Off the bench, we do have Cookie, who's started 33 games. He has been starting more of the league games. And then that gives me a chance to rest people for the Champions League. But when he plays, he does a good job. And then Bjorn Hag up top has just been absolutely fantastic, to be honest. And I do have a player in my B team who will be one of our strikers next season. So looking at our B team, we did regain the title again. So another year, 125, drew 1, lost 1, 76 points. Absolutely cruised to the title. So I'm really pleased with that. We're looking solid in here, and we will look at our B team going into next season. But the player I wanted to show you has just come back off loan. Where is he? There he is, always bomb. Daniel Holman, who we brought in last season. He managed to score 19 goals in 23 games for EB. And he's settled into the Faroe Islands nicely. And he will definitely be up in the first team as backup for next season. Just to see how we can do. I think we've got another gem here. 100%. It's just holding on to these players is what we've struggled with. Another player who's very close to coming up into the first team is Daniel Perez, the Paraguayan central defender. The only reason he's not gone straight up into the first team this year coming up is the fact that we have quite a few foreign players in our first team squad at the minute. If we do lose Mosek, one of our defenders, he will definitely move up into the first team. If not, I might give him another year in the B team and just see how he does. The only issue is that the minute he wants to explore options at the end of his contract, I do feel I can convince him to stay. If I do give him some first team football and either start next season, then I could drop him back into the B team after just to gain him some experience once we have confirmed he's sticking around. Now, we did end up winning the treble again, so we have regained the cup. So we've won the league, the cup and the Super Cup. Really, really pleased with that. A 4-2 victory over Vesta in the final. Cookie finished top assists and Kilberg finished joint top goal scorer in the cup competition as well. So really, really pleased with that. Update as the season comes to an end. Still no news on the stadium planning. We're still in the planning stage, the stadium expansion. So fingers crossed something happens. Unfortunately, one thing that the board are disappointed with is we've not spent the original transfer budget. Our budget was 32 million. They are disappointed we didn't spend 32 million. I mean, we have 54 million in the bank now, so we can spend over the winter. And if I can find a first choice left back, then maybe we will spend 7-8 million on a Danish or Norwegian Finnish left back to be our first choice. But I'm not just going to spend the money for nothing. But I have been looking at maybe the fact that our squad's just a bit too young and that is costing us in games. And if I go this way round, we only have 4 players over the age of 23. Our backup goalkeeper, our backup centre mid, our first choice defender, and our backup defensive mid. So we do have a very young squad, but I just want to try to hold on to them. We're getting to the point now where a lot of players like Michael Meng was wanted by Copenhagen, so he wanted to leave. We agreed if they pay 8.25 million, I'll let you leave. Nobody came in with that bid, so he's now happy to stay. If we can keep doing that with some of these players, and as soon as they are happy to stay, I keep offering new contracts, we might be able to start holding on to some of these gems who, in a few years, will take us to the next level. And I do think we are building a team which can go deep in the Champions League in 4 or 5 years, if we can hold on to them. So we've looked at the club. Let's have a quick look at the national team just to see how we've looked this season. So we played in World Cup qualifying. And we started against Iceland, got a 1-0 victory. Henry Hansen scoring, absolutely delighted with that. Then we went to Croatia and got 2-2 draw. We were actually 2-0 up. So disappointed we didn't actually manage to see that game out. We then lost 2-1 to Portugal, but 3 games in, being very tight in all of them, before we then beat Gibraltar 3-0. So at this point, we're looking solid. We did go on a few games losing streak. We lost to Bosnia 1-0, lost to Iceland 3-1, but both games away, almost expected. A 3-1 defeat to Croatia before a 2-0 home defeat to Bosnia. I think that was probably the only game all year long where I thought maybe we could have got a point in that type of game. We lost away to Portugal 5-0, and then we've just beat Gibraltar 4-0. Both the last two games, we were missing quite a few of our first choice players. So the fact we beat Gibraltar 4-0 with a heavily weakened side, I was really, really pleased with that. We ended up finishing the group second bottom, but we were in distance of the rest. 10 points we got. 10 points. A few years ago, we would never have got close to that. So I'm really, really pleased with how we've looked this season with the national team. One very big negative is Jonas Andersson at the age of 29, our best central midfielder, has just retired from international football, aged 29, to prolong his club career. Really, really pleased with that. He has had a few injuries this year, but the fact he's retired age 29 is an absolute kick in the teeth. I would normally look at the squad, but I think I'm going to save that for the preview to next season because we've had so many players missing for this last round of fixtures. I don't think it's the best time to be looking at the team because we're just missing too many people. The only one I look at is our own academy player, Frode Gutterson. 52 appearances now for the national team, age 23. He's still happy at the club even though he's not played every game. Started 12 games in the league this season, 3 in the Champions League. Started 20 in all competitions, 8 sub appearances. So he's not been a regular this season because Meng in central defence has really stepped up. But he's still happy. As long as he can keep that up and don't complain, he's going to be with us throughout the whole of his career, I hope, at AB and in the Faroe Islands national team. So in terms of the rankings, we are ranked 137th now. So we are improving, and I do think step by step we're looking very strong. Very disappointing to lose Anderson in central mid. I think that's going to be an absolute blow, and we really are weak in midfield. So I do think over the winter and over the next 12 months, we do need to find 2 midfielders we can pin our hopes for the future on of the national team, and just pray we can stumble across someone. Because another thing to point out is Kari Johansson, our winger, is now 30. So he's getting to the latter end of his career as well. I mean, hopefully he keeps playing for a lot longer, but you just never know. And we just missing them couple of players, which takes us from the odd victory over the likes of Iceland to beating them every single time. So we are getting there. So hopefully you did enjoy the video. Hopefully you did enjoy the episode. Thank you for watching. We will be back before the start of next season to go through all the changes we made. Look at our team going into the season. Have a look at our B team, our youth team going into the season. Who we think can step up, etc, etc. But I've been Paul, also known as the Northman, and I'll see you next time.